The world changes. Our circumstances shift. What was calm becomes chaos. What was joyous becomes grief. No state lasts. This is the nature of life. The Stoics taught that the only constant is change. They did not say this to create despair. They said it to ground us. When you accept impermanence, you reduce shock. You reduce attachment to passing moments. You prepare the mind for challenge and the heart for loss. You also learn to appreciate peace without clinging to it. Emotions surge during these changes. They react to gain and loss, to praise and criticism. The Stoics did not seek to erase emotion. They trained to govern it. They taught that emotion must answer to reason. When reason leads, emotion serves. When emotion leads, you lose your place. You lose clarity. You say things you regret. You make decisions that violate your values. Then regret follows. A Stoic practices control before the moment arrives. They train daily. They learn how to observe without panic. They act without being ruled by mood. This video explores how to live in a world of shifting seasons without being swept away. You will learn how to face hard days with strength. You will learn how to resist being drunk on good days. You will learn how to hold your center when everything around you tilts. That is what Stoicism offers. Not escape from life, but full presence within it, rooted and unshaken. Chapter 1: The Foundation of Emotional Control. Control begins with understanding. You cannot govern what you do not know. The Stoics studied emotion. They did not deny it. They asked, where does it come from? What feeds it? What weakens it? They observed that most emotional reactions are not caused by events. They are caused by how we interpret those events. This was the teaching of Epictetus. He said it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your opinion about it. A delay, a rejection, a mistake. These are not personal attacks. They are parts of daily life. They happen to everyone, regardless of effort, intelligence, or preparation. The pain comes from what you tell yourself about the event. When you call a delay disrespect, it creates tension. When you treat rejection as failure, it creates shame. When you label a mistake as weakness, it creates fear. The facts are simple. The stories we attach to those facts are what create emotional turbulence. You have the ability to change those stories. Training your mind to respond with clarity is a discipline. It requires awareness. You must observe your first reaction and separate it from your judgment. A delay is a pause in motion. That pause can be used for thinking, breathing, adjusting, or preparing. Rejection is information. It is a signal that the path must shift. It may reveal that something is not right for you. It may highlight an area that needs refinement. A mistake is evidence of effort. It is part of the process of building competence. Each of these situations offers value if you remove the false meaning attached to them. These changes in interpretation are not illusions. They are practices grounded in reality. Life unfolds through situations, not labels. A trained mind does not invent false praise or false pain. It sees clearly and adjusts based on principle. This ability to shift your interpretation without exaggeration or suppression is the foundation of emotional control. You do not wait for emotion to disappear. You strengthen your ability to hold the emotion while continuing to act in line with your values. Control is not absence, it is guidance. To feel something does not mean you must obey it. Anger can appear. You do not need to raise your voice. You can experience fear and still move forward. You can feel doubt and still speak with honesty. A disciplined person recognizes emotion without collapsing into it. They understand that emotion is a response, not a command. They choose their response based on what serves their character. The Stoics taught that between stimulus and response, there is space. That space is where freedom lives. In that space you can pause, you can review the facts, you can remind yourself of what matters. Then you can decide how to respond. This is where restraint grows. This is where self-respect is built. Each time you use that space, you increase your capacity for future restraint. This control supports your life. It strengthens your relationships. It improves the quality of your speech. It reduces regret. It prevents the kind of behavior that requires apology. It also helps others feel safe around you. People trust those who do not explode, collapse, or withdraw under pressure. That trust is earned by those who can hold their position when emotion rises. This training does not make you empty. It makes you capable. Emotions still rise, but they are held, understood, and used well. A trained mind can feel anger, sadness, excitement, or pressure, and still maintain direction. This is no different from physical training. A body becomes stronger by holding more weight. A mind becomes stronger by holding more complexity without breaking its structure. Emotional training builds a calm presence. It allows you to stay clear in the middle of noise. You do not flinch at every reaction. You do not chase every mood. You stand where your principles tell you to stand. That steadiness becomes your strength. People feel it. You feel it. You begin to trust yourself. This is what emotional control looks like. It is built on daily effort. It is built on clarity, discipline, and repeated practice. It is possible for anyone. The tools are within reach, and the results shape everything about how you move through life. Chapter 2. When life gets hard, anchor yourself. Difficulty is embedded in the structure of nature. No life unfolds without resistance. The Stoics recognized this reality. They trained for it. They saw that hardship exposes the quality of your habits. It reveals how you handle frustration. It brings to light whether your values are theory or practice. When the external world becomes unstable, the inner world is tested. This is not cruelty. It is reality showing you where your training stands. When difficulty appears, most people tense against it. They wish it would go away. This wish leads to confusion, frustration, and wasted energy. The pain that comes from hardship is real, but the suffering is often increased by the mental fight against what is happening. A Stoic accepts the facts first. They do not look away. They do not panic. They ask questions that direct the mind toward action. What is within my control? What must I do next? What must I stop doing? Pain is a signal. It does not always mean something is broken. It may mean something must be adjusted, faced, or endured. Each hard moment is a mirror. It reflects how you speak to yourself. It reflects how well you follow your structure. It shows whether your discipline is based on conditions or rooted in principle. You are being shown who you are under pressure. You are also being given the chance to strengthen what is weak. Endurance is a decision made in quiet moments. It is the decision to keep going when progress slows. It is the refusal to collapse under the weight of events. Loss can strike without warning. Plans can fail. Expectations can be disrupted. You may feel disappointment, exhaustion, or grief. These states are human. What matters is what you choose to do while carrying them. You do not need to eliminate the weight to continue. You need to adjust your posture and keep moving. Resilience is not given, it is built. It comes from repeated encounters with difficulty where you decide to act in alignment with your principles. You return to your structure even when it feels empty. You return to clarity even when emotion wants to distort the truth. You hold to your ethics even when your mood shifts. These are the points of training. They sharpen you. They teach you that stability does not come from your environment. It comes from your character. You must be precise about what you will protect, no matter how hard life becomes. Identify the behaviors you will not allow to decay. Speak truth even in discomfort. Stay calm even in pressure. Maintain discipline even in chaos. These are not ideas to admire. They are actions to repeat. This clarity must be set in advance. You must decide your standards before the pressure comes. In the moment of impact, you return to them. They will hold you when nothing else does. This is why the Stoics placed so much value on habits. They built routines that prepared them to face loss, change, and challenge. They started each day with mental preparation. They reviewed what they could control. They reminded themselves that nothing was owed. Then they acted. They wrote down their thoughts to clean the mind. They chose their meals with care to avoid excess. They did their work without praise as the goal. They treated discipline as a guardrail, not a performance. Structure prevents emotional collapse. It gives you something firm to return to. It keeps the body moving while the mind recalibrates. Speech becomes measured. Movement becomes deliberate. The morning begins with purpose. The day is shaped by clear tasks. When the external world is unstable, this rhythm becomes a form of power. You do not drift into disorder. You act with intention. The simplicity of these practices is part of their strength. You do not need to invent new strategies during each crisis. You follow the same path. You rise, reflect, move, speak, and serve. This removes unnecessary decisions. It clears space for essential thinking. It trains your nervous system to operate under pressure without folding. It makes you more reliable to others. It makes you more reliable to yourself. These disciplines remove confusion. They quiet the noise of emotion. They remind you what matters. You stop wasting energy on things outside your control. You stop reaching for distractions. You stop hoping for rescue. You begin to act based on responsibility. You hold your structure and keep walking forward. This movement becomes your response to uncertainty. Difficulty acts as a filter. It shows you what no longer belongs. It forces you to let go of what does not serve. It highlights what is unnecessary. This process is uncomfortable, but it is useful. You begin to separate the essential from the irrelevant. You see that status does not save you. Approval does not anchor you. Temporary comfort does not build character. These things fall away. What remains is what you have practiced. Every hardship is a form of instruction. It teaches through direct experience. It does not require explanation. It reveals your level of preparation. When everything is stable, it is easy to speak about principles. When pressure rises and the plan breaks, your real habits appear. Your reactions are exposed. Your defaults come to the surface. This is useful. It shows you what still needs work. It gives you the data needed for correction. Every test leaves behind insight if you are willing to examine it. Discomfort is a force that sharpens attention. It removes the option to coast. It pushes you to focus on what matters. When comfort is no longer available, you must rely on the systems you have built. You must rely on your structure, your process, and your clarity. If these things are absent, you feel it quickly. Your decisions become reactive. Your speech becomes careless. Your posture becomes loose. The pressure is a signal that there is something to strengthen. The discomfort reveals what is unfinished. Growth rarely comes through smooth conditions. Growth happens through demand. When life demands more from you, you must meet it or fall. If you have practiced consistency, you are better equipped to respond. The Stoics viewed this as an advantage. They welcomed the challenge as an opportunity to become more capable. They understood that a steady mind is not formed in ease. It is formed in repetition under real stress. The illusion of ease can slow your development. Comfort delays reflection. When nothing challenges you, there is less reason to improve. You become passive in your thinking. You stop reviewing your actions. You allow small errors to repeat. Pain reverses this drift. It brings urgency. It forces you to reassess. You notice what is inefficient. You confront what is unnecessary. You simplify your movements. You refine your habits. The Stoics saw this clearly. They did not chase comfort. They prepared for resistance. They saw pressure as the proper environment for training. They practiced losing what they could not control. They practiced speaking clearly, even in hardship. They trained the body through discomfort. They trained the mind to remain still. Their discipline was not decoration, it was preparation. They wanted a mind that would not unravel under pressure. You do not build this ability in perfect conditions. You build it in the middle of doubt. You build it when things go wrong and you choose not to break. You build it when you act with order, even while feeling pressure. You are shaped most by what you do when things are hard. Your values mean something when they are tested. Your habits prove themselves when you feel drained and still stay aligned with what matters. This way of living is not based on idealism. It is based on realism. Every day will not go well. There will be losses. There will be mistakes. There will be unfair moments. These facts do not remove your responsibility. They make your responsibility more urgent. You must decide what kind of person you will be in those moments. That decision must be clear. It must be practiced. It must be repeated until it becomes natural. Peace is not a feeling that arrives on its own. Peace is created through consistent action. It is reinforced each time you maintain your structure under pressure. It becomes real through choices made without complaint. It is built through a rhythm of discipline. This rhythm does not depend on ease. It depends on will. The Stoic does not wait for ideal conditions to begin. They act with structure regardless of how they feel. When your discipline is stronger than your mood, you earn trust with yourself. You become someone you can rely on. You do what needs to be done without relying on motivation. You speak cleanly without needing the perfect environment. You continue to act even when there is no praise. This is how you make peace into a habit. The Stoic path requires clarity. You must know what you value. You must know how to act in line with those values. You must act even when the result is uncertain. You carry your duties without complaint. You accept the demands of the day without dramatizing them. You stay grounded in action. This is not about avoiding pain. It is about continuing your work while holding the weight of pain without collapse. You do not need to search for easier conditions. You need to become more stable under the current conditions. You need to speak clearly when surrounded by noise. You need to move with discipline when surrounded by distraction. You need to act with intention when the world becomes unpredictable. This kind of strength is not dramatic. It is steady. It is visible in how you carry pressure. It is seen in how you return to your principles. The storm will arrive. It will test your structure. It will reveal what is weak and what is solid. It will expose what has been ignored. You do not need to fear this. You need to use it. Let it show you what needs your attention. Let it highlight the parts of your life that are still built on convenience. Then do the work. No excuses, no delays. You continue with the same clarity you had before the storm. You move one step at a time. You correct what is broken. You stay grounded in practice. This is how you build strength. This is how you shape a mind that can endure anything. Not by waiting for peace, but by creating it through structure. Not by explaining your emotions, but by acting despite them. Not by retreating, but by standing where you are with full presence. This is how the Stoics trained. This is how you become steady. This is how you rise. Chapter 3. Everything is temporary, so use it well. Nothing in life is fixed. All things shift. Every experience, no matter how intense or lasting it seems, moves forward and fades. This includes both joy and suffering. This fact does not have to disturb you. It can serve as a mental tool. If you remember that the joyful moments will pass, you become less attached. You appreciate them without expecting them to last. If you remember that the painful moments will also pass, you reduce their power to control your mind. They still hurt, but they do not dominate your direction. You recognize that they are temporary. Your role is not to pause the flow of time. Your role is to function well while it moves forward. You are part of a world that does not stop. Time continues whether you notice it or not. Each hour is consumed as it arrives. You cannot slow it. You cannot store it. You cannot revisit it. What you can do is respond well to each moment as it passes through your hands. That response is within your command. You cannot control how fast the stream flows, but you can control the form you bring to your actions while in it. This is your responsibility, to bring full presence to the present. You are always moving within time. It is not something outside of you. It carries your choices with it. This is why attention matters. When you bring full attention to your task, your posture, your words, and your focus, you give shape to the passing hour. You make the moment count. You bring clarity to what could otherwise be wasted. This is the discipline of the Stoic, to remain alert to what is real and active now. Marcus Aurelius repeated to himself that he was a temporary visitor. He reminded himself that every moment was a gift with no guarantee of renewal. This reminder was not abstract. It was practical. It shaped how he moved through his responsibilities. It shaped how he spoke to others. It shaped how he trained his mind. He knew that delay weakens resolve. He understood that waiting for a better condition often leads to inaction. His clarity about the shortness of life sharpened his use of it. He did not prepare for a time that might never come. He made use of the time directly in front of him. He stayed committed to what was needed now. He removed unnecessary words. He removed distractions. He committed to the role he was given. The empire he led was unstable. The pressures were constant. Still, he acted with order and returned to his principles. This discipline was not caused by peace. It was built in the middle of instability. When you accept that your time is limited, your tolerance for waste decreases. You begin to see clearly what does not deserve your energy. You identify patterns that repeat but give you no value. You see where your attention leaks. You begin to pull it back. You begin to protect it. You correct where you have been passive. You repair where you have been careless. You speak what needs to be spoken. You remove hesitation where action is overdue. You stop negotiating with yourself on what matters. You stop entertaining distractions that fragment your energy. You stop indulging in delay that creates regret. The present becomes serious. The present becomes useful. You treat your attention like a resource. You stop giving it away to complaints, to shallow entertainment, to empty habits. You focus it. You train it. The Stoics knew that anything dependent on praise or applause is unstable. Status fades. Approval shifts. Money can disappear. Recognition is temporary. These things are external. If your worth depends on them, your peace becomes dependent on noise. A Stoic anchors their effort to something internal: character, discipline, and intention. These are the qualities that remain usable even when conditions change. Pleasure, when handled with discipline, becomes a part of life without becoming the center of it. You can enjoy what is given to you without becoming owned by it. When a good moment appears, you acknowledge it. You do not chase it. You continue your structure. When difficulty appears, you meet it with firmness. You do not allow it to break the rhythm you have built. The mind stays steady in both conditions. You remind yourself of a simple truth: this will pass. The high moment will pass. The hard moment will pass. This truth is not a form of escape. It is a form of preparation. It keeps your head clear. It keeps your posture stable. It keeps your structure consistent. You are not pulled in every direction by mood. You return to your path. This awareness touches everything. It shapes how you handle interruptions. It changes how you approach your work. It changes how you speak in conflict. It helps you move with care. You stop putting energy into things that collapse. You start building things that hold. This mindset makes your days more focused. It makes your actions more exact. It removes excess from your life. Each breath is a moment used or lost. Each action leaves a mark on your habits. Each thought shapes how you meet the next hour. Nothing is small. Every repetition becomes part of your structure. The Stoics knew this. That is why they trained daily. That is why they wrote often. That is why they reviewed their choices. Their goal was to stay ready for the moment they were given. They did not speak about legacy as fame. They viewed legacy as integrity. It was the pattern of behavior you leave behind. It was the clarity of thought you pass to others. It was the result of how well you lived your role. They knew that even if no one remembered them, the value of their discipline remained real. Their practice was its own reward. The changing nature of life gives you a sharp lens. It clears illusions. It strips away the comfort of endless chances. When you understand that this moment may not return, you approach it with more seriousness. You stop building your day around distractions. You bring focus to your task. You cut hesitation. You take responsibility for the minutes that pass through your hands. You know that delay has a cost. You do the necessary work while it still belongs to you. You move toward the thing you've delayed. You stop crafting reasons for waiting. You stop negotiating with the fear that keeps you still. You speak the words you've held back. You correct the small problems you've allowed to grow. You respond to life while it's in motion. You don't hand your time to avoidance. You don't allow comfort to decide how much of you is used. You act because you understand the passing nature of time. Letting go is not weakness, it is clarity. You stop holding the things that drain you. You stop building on ground that cannot support weight. You adjust to the fact that things change. You stay involved, but you are not chained to outcomes. You commit your full attention to what is present. You do your part with structure and care, even when you know it will end. This steadiness is what preserves your strength. It protects your attention. It allows you to remain steady even when things fade. You no longer seek to control the course of everything around you. You train to control your role within it. You release the need to force permanence in what is temporary. This does not reduce your effort. It focuses it. You are able to give more to each moment because you are no longer distracted by the fear of its ending. You are focused on the quality of your actions while the opportunity exists. This kind of presence reduces emotional exhaustion. You stop burning your energy on outcomes you cannot hold. You stop chasing closure from things that do not have it. You shift your energy from holding to participating. This builds resilience. It reduces tension. You stop forcing situations to stay still. You let them change, and you adjust your posture. Your discipline becomes your anchor. Your steadiness becomes your habit. Your identity becomes independent of the result. It is shaped by how you show up, regardless of how long the situation lasts. You speak with control because you are not chasing approval. You act with structure because your behavior is not driven by reward. You can be flexible without losing strength. You can shift your plan without losing your direction. This is what makes you grounded. This is what keeps you balanced through change. The phrase, "This too shall pass," is not an excuse to avoid responsibility. It is a reminder to meet your responsibility now, while the chance is still here. It is not about comforting yourself with the hope that discomfort will end. It is about showing up fully, even when discomfort is present. It is about facing challenge without collapsing into fear. It is about staying committed to your role while the conditions shift around you. This mindset is a form of mental discipline. You do not become passive. You do not disconnect. You stay in contact with what matters. You continue to work on your structure, even when results are uncertain. You keep your attention sharp. You take care of your routine. You focus your energy on what builds you. This is what the Stoics practiced. This is how they built stability without needing the world to stay still. Change is a constant. It is not something to fight. It is something to train for. You allow it to teach you. You let it show you how much you depend on stability. You let it reveal where your trust is misplaced. You use it as pressure to improve your posture. You use it to test whether your values hold when things shift. You use it to measure the strength of your habits. In this way, change becomes a tool. It becomes a signal. It becomes a mirror. It does not make you weaker. It makes you more focused. It returns you to the core of your discipline. It strips away what is unstable. It sharpens your sense of purpose. This is where clarity grows. This is where inner strength forms. This is where calm becomes useful. You are building a mind that does not collapse in transition. You are building a posture that does not change with every shift. You are learning to lead yourself. You are building internal order that remains active in external change. You do this by acting clearly. You do this by speaking deliberately. You do this by moving with intention. Everything around you may change. Seasons shift, circumstances evolve, and people come and go. But your principles remain usable. They do not expire when the environment becomes difficult. Your structure remains dependable. It provides consistency when everything else loses order. Your presence remains steady. It anchors you and others when emotions rise. These qualities can be trained like muscles. They are not inherited. They are not fragile. They grow stronger through repetition and effort. These are the assets you keep when all else fades. They are not taken from you unless you drop them. They are yours to preserve. They are tools of inner stability. The Stoic prepares so that these tools remain sharp. The Stoic trains to meet life without confusion. They act with alignment to preserve direction. They review their habits to ensure they stay close to their values. They speak with precision, especially when under pressure. They do not abandon their standards during emotional storms. They move in sync with their principles when tested. This is where their reliability comes from. To live well in a passing moment requires active discipline. You must not grip the moment. You must engage it fully. You bring your whole attention to what you are doing. You complete the work in front of you. You honor your structure. You give form to the present without trying to make it permanent. You carry your posture and values into each act, knowing that nothing around you is fixed. You do not stall for perfect timing. You move with intention while the time exists. This is what keeps your strength alive. This is how peace is formed, not through external comfort, but through internal preparation. You live in rhythm with your values. You speak what must be spoken. You build what can be sustained. You let go when the moment ends. That clarity is peace. That consistency is strength. This is the reward of trained awareness, reliable structure, and disciplined behavior. This is how you remain grounded through change. This is how you remain free under pressure. Chapter 4. The illusion of control and the discipline of surrender. The mind often reaches for control. It wants to fix, predict, and contain outcomes. But life does not bend to the mind's expectations. Plans shift. People act outside your expectations. Events unfold without warning. The Stoics taught that control is narrow. It is internal. Your choices, your reactions, your principles, these belong to you. Everything else is subject to change. This truth must be faced if you want peace. Most emotional instability comes from trying to control what cannot be controlled. You cannot govern the actions of others. You cannot guarantee outcomes. You cannot hold back loss. But you can train your character. You can manage your response. You can stay consistent when others lose direction. This is not weakness. It is efficiency. It places your energy where it can be used. Surrender does not mean passivity, it means clarity. You identify what is external. You stop wasting force trying to bend it. You return to your tasks. You execute your role. You take ownership of the actions that shape your integrity. You let go of the noise that pulls your attention away from what matters. This is the discipline of surrender. It sharpens focus. It builds a calm and active mind. When you try to control too much, you dilute your effort. You scatter your attention. You create frustration. The Stoics practiced saying no to these traps. They trained their minds to remain within their lane. Their questions were sharp. What belongs to me? What can I shape today? What must I release? This practice creates freedom. You are not dragged by every outcome. You are not unsettled by delay or disruption. You expect change. You anticipate surprise. You hold your structure when the plan dissolves. You do not panic. You adjust. You prepare for these moments in advance. You imagine scenarios where things go wrong. You rehearse your response. You visualize staying steady. This is not pessimism. It is mental training. It makes you ready to act when others freeze. It makes you useful in chaos. It builds your reliability. The world will not match your expectations, but your behavior can match your principles. That is what Stoic control means. It is focused. It is internal. It is trained through repetition, awareness, and the refusal to waste energy on what you do not own. This clarity is rare, but it is available to anyone willing to practice. Chapter 5. Letting emotions rise without letting them rule. Every person feels emotion: anger, fear, joy, frustration. These reactions are part of being human. The Stoics never taught the removal of emotion. They taught the control of response. The emotion may rise, but the behavior remains measured. This distinction creates strength. It keeps the mind free. To feel something is not a weakness. It is a natural human experience. It shows that you are alive and aware. Emotions are signals from within, pointing toward your values, fears, and beliefs. They reveal what matters to you. They reflect your expectations about how things should be. They also expose your assumptions about how others should act, how situations should unfold, or how results should look. When you feel anger, it might be because you expected fairness. When you feel disappointment, it might be because you attached yourself to a specific outcome. These emotions serve as indicators. They are messages, not instructions. Emotion becomes a problem when it is treated as a guide rather than a signal. Emotion can alert you to a disturbance. It cannot decide the correct path. When you let emotion lead, it pushes you toward reaction instead of reflection. Emotion can distort your thinking, shorten your attention span, and pull you into impulsive behavior. It can lead to damage in speech, misjudgment in action, and confusion in decision-making. It can convince you that the short-term release of anger is worth the long-term cost of regret. The Stoic practices training in the space between stimulus and action. That space is the center of their discipline. It is where they build their freedom. A sharp word may strike your ego. A delay may trigger your restlessness. A loss may activate your grief. These responses may appear quickly, but they do not need to be followed immediately. The Stoic breathes. They do not rush. They allow a moment of distance. They observe their thoughts before choosing a direction. They ask practical questions. What actually happened? What part of this is in my control? What does reason suggest? You cannot prevent emotion from surfacing. It arrives without invitation, but what happens after it appears is entirely within your responsibility. You train your response through awareness. You study your patterns. You notice where emotion tends to overtake your reason. You examine the moments where you responded poorly. You take time to write about them, to understand the triggers, and to find where structure was missing. Then you prepare for the next time. You do not wait for emotional strength to appear on its own. You build it through repetition. You also learn to sit with emotion without immediately reacting to it. You do not rush to fix the feeling. You do not run from it or dramatize it. You identify it. You describe it to yourself in plain terms. You reduce its intensity by observing it with accuracy. This removes its ability to control your next move. The emotion may be real, but you are still responsible for how you carry it. When emotion is heavy, you return to action. You simplify your tasks. You clean your environment to reset your mind. You complete small responsibilities to ground your energy. You move your body to discharge tension. You write your thoughts to bring them into order. You avoid unnecessary conversations. You wait for clarity before you speak. This pattern allows your thinking to reset. It builds internal order before external expression. This level of control builds trust. People feel safer around those who do not act on impulse. They respect those who speak only when something useful needs to be said. They remember those who remain calm when pressure increases. This kind of calm does not happen on its own. It is earned through structure, review, and daily correction. It is reinforced by routine. It is strengthened by standards. Emotion will rise. It will appear during pressure, during uncertainty, and during daily conflict. It will surface when things are unfair, when you are misunderstood, or when you lose what you value. It will continue to show up in your life because emotion is part of experience. But you do not have to follow it. You do not have to let it decide the direction of your day. You choose how it moves through your behavior. You choose how much space it is allowed to occupy. You choose how long it stays in your system. You choose whether it reaches your hands or your voice. You choose whether it shapes your actions or is allowed to pass without a trace. These decisions are within your reach. They are not easy, but they are trainable. The Stoic sharpens that command daily. They do not wait for a high-stakes moment to test their strength. They rehearse it in small moments. They observe the early signals. They apply control when the cost is low, so that they are ready when the cost is high. They rehearse calm when nothing is at risk, so that calm remains when everything is. This practice is how inner peace is built. It is not found in isolation from the world. It is built through exposure and refinement. It is not found in removing emotion. It is built by facing emotion, understanding it, and choosing response with discipline. It is not found in silence alone. It is built in how you speak after silence. It is found in the words you select, the tone you maintain, and the timing you hold. It is built in how you act when pressure returns, when plans fail, or when people disappoint you. You train the mind to observe before it reacts. You train the body to hold posture before it moves. You train your speech to be brief, calm, and true. You build this peace daily. You maintain it through repetition. You protect it by keeping your focus on what is yours to command. This is the Stoic response to emotion. It is not based on denial. It is not based on indulgence. It is based on presence. It is based on knowing your structure. It is based on making choices that reflect your character instead of your mood. Observation, reflection, and deliberate control. These are the tools. This is the path. This is the strength. This is how you hold yourself steady. This is how you live with dignity, regardless of what feelings rise within you. Chapter 6. Strength in Stillness. Training calm under pressure. The Stoics valued stillness. It was not the absence of movement. It was the presence of inner order. In moments of pressure, they trained to remain calm. This calm was not based on passivity. It was rooted in clarity. When your mind is still, it can see clearly. When your mind is frantic, it distorts the situation. Stillness allows for right action. It reduces error. It improves timing. In difficulty, most people react. They raise their voice. They speed up their speech. They move without thinking. The Stoic moves differently. They slow down. They breathe with control. They listen fully. They hold their posture. This is not instinctual. It is trained. It is built through discipline. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It means responding with precision. It means pausing long enough to see the full picture. When emotion rises, stillness gives you time to separate signal from noise. It gives you the space to ask, what matters right now? What is the right move? This skill is developed in small situations. You do not wait for crisis to begin training. You start with daily conversations. You train by listening before responding. You practice letting silence exist without filling it. You control your breath during small frustrations. Each repetition builds your base. Each controlled moment adds to your stability. Stillness is also physical. The body reflects the state of the mind. The Stoics trained their posture. They sat with intention. They stood with composure. They moved with discipline. Their body language was part of their training. Calm in the body supports calm in the mind. A calm presence changes how others experience you. It lowers the temperature of the room. It slows reactivity. It signals control. People trust those who stay steady. They listen more closely. They follow more willingly. Influence increases when your behavior is guided by reason, not by emotion. Stillness protects your energy. It prevents exhaustion. It keeps you from reacting to every shift in circumstance. You remain anchored. You choose your engagements wisely. You preserve focus. This creates endurance. This allows you to sustain effort across long stretches of challenge. Training stillness is practical. It does not require special tools. It requires presence. It requires review. It requires that you take responsibility for your reactions. It requires that you make stillness part of your identity. This practice is open to everyone. Its results are visible in every action you take. It is one of the clearest signs of strength. Chapter 7. Practicing detachment without losing compassion. Detachment is often misunderstood. It is not coldness. It is clarity. It means you are present, but not controlled by outcomes. You show up fully, but you do not attach your identity to success or failure. You do your work with discipline, but you release the outcome. You serve others with sincerity, but you do not depend on their response for your peace. The Stoics practiced detachment to protect the mind. They understood that peace weakens when it relies on things outside your control. When your emotional state depends on how others behave, you place your stability in fragile hands. If your worth is tied to praise, attention, or validation, then each compliment lifts you and each criticism deflates you. That kind of emotional dependence creates instability. Detachment removes this dependency. It brings your focus back to what you control, your choices, your standards, and your behavior. You anchor your values in your own actions. You do what is right because that is your role, regardless of who sees it. You act with integrity, even if there is no reward. The discipline of detachment begins by adjusting your internal expectations. You remind yourself that your role is to act, not to dictate the results. You train your mind to separate effort from outcome. You direct your energy toward fulfilling your duty, not toward chasing approval. You speak clearly, act cleanly, and maintain your posture, even if no one acknowledges your effort. This is how you protect your clarity and prevent emotional waste. Detachment does not remove your concern for others. It does not turn you away from compassion. It strengthens you so that you can care without being consumed. You remain present and supportive, but you are not emotionally dependent on the reaction of others. You give help when it is needed, but you do not collapse when it is rejected. You express care without demanding anything in return. You show love, but you stay composed even when that love is not returned. This approach helps you avoid burnout. It allows you to stay engaged without being overwhelmed. You maintain emotional boundaries that support your function and preserve your energy. This discipline creates space for compassion to be sustainable. You are no longer controlled by other people's moods, choices, or reactions. You recognize that everyone has their own path, and your role is not to carry it for them. This does not make you distant. It makes you durable. You stay connected without being tangled. You offer support without losing your foundation. Detachment supports resilience. When your center is anchored in your own character, you are less reactive to external change. You are not thrown off course by unexpected outcomes. You are not paralyzed by rejection. You are not inflated by praise. You experience all of it, but none of it controls your direction. You observe events and emotions as they arrive. You allow them to pass through without altering your discipline. You keep your structure intact. This discipline makes you more consistent. You begin to see clearly what deserves your attention. You stop responding to every emotional trigger. You conserve energy by filtering what you allow into your judgment. You examine the moment, then decide what deserves thought, what deserves action, and what must be ignored. You are no longer pulled in 10 directions by every mood or opinion. You choose your direction based on principle. You practice detachment through routine reflection. You ask yourself simple questions. What is my role? What can I influence? What is outside of my reach? What is the next action that reflects my standards? These questions bring you back to your responsibilities. They strip away unnecessary concern. They clarify your duties. When your focus is on execution, not outcome, your attention sharpens. You serve well without becoming emotionally drained. Each time you let go of what you cannot control, you reinforce strength. You walk through conflict without losing your voice. You respond with calm, even when others react with emotion. You maintain focus, even when the situation is unpredictable. You protect your structure while staying involved. This practice allows you to stay useful in difficulty. It allows you to respond without emotional volatility. The Stoic lives this way to protect their peace and increase their effectiveness. Emotional clarity makes their actions more direct. Detachment helps them remain stable in personal relationships, in work, and during hardship. A detached person can listen without reacting. They can stand still in tension. They can support others without becoming emotionally entangled. They can hold presence in loss, failure, or rejection and continue doing their duty. This strength is developed. It is not natural to everyone. It is built through deliberate practice, daily review, and the repeated decision to return to your principles. You do not arrive at it by chance. You earn it. It is visible in how you carry yourself, how you respond to pressure, and how you treat others while keeping your boundaries clear. Detachment, when practiced with integrity, leads to deeper compassion, more stable relationships, and more focused action. It is a tool. It is a shield. It is a way to stay whole while still fully engaged in life. Chapter 8. Holding the line, staying true to principle. When pressured, pressure tests everything. It tests your thinking, your discipline, and your values. When comfort is removed, your real standards appear. When you are tired, frustrated, or uncertain, your habits take over. The Stoic trains to ensure that those habits remain aligned with principle. They know that external pressure is constant, so they prepare to meet it with internal order. When pressured, many people abandon their values to avoid discomfort. They adjust their speech to avoid criticism. They agree with what they do not believe to avoid conflict. They remain silent when they should speak. They break their own standards to protect their image. This habit creates internal conflict. Each time you act against your values, you weaken your identity. The pressure does not disappear. It only finds a person easier to shape. The Stoic trains to prevent this. They prepare before the test arrives. The Stoic writes their principles. They keep them visible. They read them daily. These principles are not decorative. They are tools. They are reminders. They are the ground the Stoic stands on when the moment becomes unstable. The Stoic rehearses difficult situations in advance. They imagine being criticized unjustly. They imagine losing status. They imagine being rejected. Then they rehearse their behavior. They train to stay calm. They train to speak directly. They train to remain anchored. This training strengthens their posture when it counts. You hold the line by being specific. You name what you stand for. You define the values that are not negotiable. You write them clearly. You measure your actions against them. Integrity, clarity, courage, discipline. These are not abstract words. They must translate into behavior. You decide who you are before pressure arrives. You practice how to hold that position in quiet moments. When challenge appears, you return to what you rehearsed. You follow the internal structure you have built. You maintain your tone. You carry your discipline. You do not let mood take control of your choices. This skill is sharpened through small repetitions. You say no to shortcuts, even when they offer quick results. You maintain composure when someone tries to provoke you. You take responsibility when you are wrong, even if it costs you. You hold your standards even when they create discomfort. You resist the urge to explain yourself when silence is stronger. Each act strengthens your position. The more you hold the line, the more natural it becomes. You stop thinking about escape. You start thinking about alignment. You become more precise with your decisions. Each time you break from your principles, you feel it. It reduces your confidence. It creates confusion. You feel the gap between who you claim to be and how you act. That gap grows if it is not corrected. The line becomes harder to see. Your posture weakens. The standard starts to blur. The Stoic corrects early. They do not wait for collapse. They reflect. They adjust. They tighten their structure. This discipline shapes your presence. It becomes visible to others. People feel the weight of someone who does not shift to match the room. They sense steadiness. They trust that what you say is real. They do not need to guess what you will do under pressure. This reliability gives strength to your actions. Your presence begins to speak before your words do. You do not demand authority. You earn it through behavior. You do not ask for respect. You receive it through consistency. This strength increases your influence. It removes confusion from your communication. People stop watching for weakness. They start listening for direction. Your behavior becomes a guide. It carries clarity. Your actions reflect discipline. You do not change your path to gain support. You follow your structure, and people follow you because of it. The Stoic trains for this, not for recognition, but for responsibility. They do not want to pollute their energy with regret. They want their decisions to remain clean. They want their speech to reflect accuracy. They want their peace to stay intact when the world becomes reactive. They do not pretend to be strong. They train to be strong. They hold the line because it is their role to hold it. They choose this standard for their own clarity. They carry it so that they remain effective under pressure. This is not pride. This is responsibility. The line is not drawn for display. It is drawn for function. The Stoic follows it because it leads to discipline, resilience, and peace. This is the work. This is how clarity is protected. This is how integrity is maintained. This is the path. Chapter 9. Building emotional endurance through repetition. Emotional strength is not built during rare moments. It is built through steady repetition in daily life. The Stoics trained their responses through ordinary events. They knew that how you respond to small difficulties shapes how you handle large ones. They treated each setback as a chance to reinforce clarity, calm, and discipline. Endurance is a product of exposure. When you place yourself in situations that test your comfort, your capacity to stay calm and centered increases. When you stick to your structure during fatigue, frustration, or distraction, your internal discipline becomes more durable. You show yourself that clarity can be maintained even when energy is low. Each act of control, no matter how small, becomes part of your foundation. It becomes part of your training. Each time you resist reacting, you build a new reflex. Each time you hold your structure, you deepen your ability to stay steady. You are always training something. Every response reinforces a habit. If you meet discomfort with avoidance, avoidance becomes your pattern. If you respond to stress with anger, anger becomes your default. If you remain composed, speak with intention, and follow your principles, those become your baseline responses. You are not just reacting to life, you are shaping your reflexes. The question is not whether you are training, but what you are training. The Stoics understood this. They treated daily life as a gym for the mind. They tested themselves in simple ways. They practiced silence during conversations. They chose hunger to train patience. They walked in the cold without complaint. They refused to indulge their impulses. They gave up luxuries for short periods to remember what they could live without. They imagined loss before it happened to reduce shock. These were not dramatic displays. These were disciplined actions meant to build endurance before it was needed. You train emotional endurance by watching your internal response to everyday moments. You identify what disrupts your focus. You notice where your attention breaks. You study what repeatedly triggers your impatience or irritability. You create a routine that brings you back to center. This can include quiet reflection, breathing with control, writing down your thoughts, or completing small responsibilities that restore order. When energy is low, the tendency to abandon structure increases. This is where discipline proves its value. The commitment to stay consistent despite fatigue builds a deeper strength. You do the routine even when your motivation drops. You follow your process even when your mood shifts. This repetition adds weight to your character. It teaches you that reliability does not depend on feeling good. It depends on keeping your word to yourself. This repetition builds reliability. Your emotions begin to stabilize. You respond with fewer spikes in reaction. You notice earlier when your posture slips. You correct it sooner. You become easier to trust, both for others and for yourself. People feel safe around those who do not fluctuate constantly. Your presence becomes steady. You stop reacting to chaos and begin responding to it with measured form. You begin this training wherever you are. No dramatic setup is required. You look at what is in your control today. You examine your small habits. You treat every minor difficulty as a test of structure. You stay calm when you are interrupted. You lower your voice instead of raising it. You follow your evening routine after a long day. These actions may seem simple, but they are the backbone of emotional endurance. Resilience is built in traffic. It is built when your schedule changes. It is built when you feel ignored, when a plan breaks, when someone disappoints you. Each of these moments is an opportunity to train. You respond with structure. You do not explain your frustration. You act with care. You continue with discipline. This is how strength becomes real. The Stoic repeats this practice because they know the consequences of neglect. When discipline is absent, emotions rule. When habits are unexamined, reactions grow wild. When discomfort is always avoided, even small problems begin to feel large. The Stoic does not leave this to chance. They review their behavior. They measure their direction. They adjust the structure when it weakens. They choose consistency so that their actions stay aligned. Emotional endurance is not something you wait to build in crisis. It is prepared quietly. It is trained each day in repetition. It is shaped by how you carry yourself when no one is watching. It is formed by how you respond when you are tired. It is shown in how you return to your principles after disruption. This is the process. This is the discipline. This is the structure that holds when pressure increases. This is what makes you dependable. This is what gives you strength that can be used. Chapter 10. Everything is temporary. Live with precision while it lasts. Everything changes. Every condition you rely on will shift. Every comfort you enjoy will pass. Every difficulty you face will end. This truth is not something to fear. It is something to prepare for. The Stoics built their philosophy around the reality of impermanence. They used it to sharpen their thinking and to guide their actions. When you accept that nothing lasts, you begin to use your time differently. You stop wasting days in distraction. You stop delaying what must be said. You stop holding your energy for a perfect moment that may never come. You become more direct in your speech. You become more consistent in your actions. You become more respectful with your attention. The awareness that all things end is a tool. It clarifies what deserves your focus. It separates what is urgent from what is noise. It brings your attention back to what you can control. This awareness removes the illusion of permanence. It cuts away excuses. It forces decisions. It invites action. This is why the Stoics reflected on mortality. They did not view it as morbid. They viewed it as discipline. Each day is a resource with limits. Each conversation may be the last. Each chance to act may not return. This creates urgency, not panic. It creates seriousness, not anxiety. You begin to treat your time as a duty. The knowledge that everything is temporary helps you stay calm in success. It helps you stay patient in failure. It helps you avoid becoming arrogant when things go well. It helps you avoid despair when things fall apart. You understand that no emotion, no condition, and no phase is final. You keep perspective. This mindset helps you move with care. You speak with intention. You take nothing for granted. You work hard without expectation of permanence. You build strength knowing it will be tested. You express love knowing it may not be returned. You stay kind even when kindness is not given back. You live as if each moment matters, because it does. Everything is temporary, but the way you live is not lost. The choices you make become your character. The patterns you repeat become your legacy. The discipline you follow becomes your structure. These things remain. These things carry forward. These are the marks you leave behind. The Stoic accepts impermanence and still lives with full commitment. They hold their standard no matter the season. They keep their posture whether praised or attacked. They keep their values close whether surrounded or alone. This is how they train. This is how they lead. This is how they live.